Hi YouTube family, Namaste, Lisa A. Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and today I want to talk about abuse by omission, which I think is a really clever term to describe what so many of us from dysfunctional homes experienced. If you're like me, you lived in a home that was not overtly abusive, and it's difficult when you come from a home like that when what's wrong is what's missing. When you grow up, you don't have things to point out for why you're perfectionistic, or why you're bulimic, or why you cut yourself, or why you are neurotic, or why you can't get along with others, or why you're impulsive, or why you're a risk taker, or why intimate relationships make you uncomfortable, or why you have trouble in your relationships, or why you are so critical of others and so ridiculously critical of yourself, and so sensitive when other people have anything to say about you whatsoever. Adult children of alcoholics are super sensitive. Their skin is raw, and they have been abused, and the problem is very often they aren't aware that their skin is raw because they haven't had the experience of having their pain objectified. And so when you're a small child and you're crying and no one gives a crap, the message is that my feelings don't matter. And so what will happen is that feeling never gets to come through the chakra system and go out through the crown chakra, so it gets stuck. And just like you can tie a knot in a garden hose and you can imagine all the pressure below the knot, that's what happens in our bellies. That's what happens in our bowel. That's what happens in our gut. And that's what happens in our heart. We get blocked. In my opinion, emotions are simply energy in motion. So that means that energy and emotions are supposed to just stay in motion. So just like when someone has a heart block and the heart just stops, or a cardiac arrest and the heart just stops. And it's no different with emotions. Emotions are supposed to flow. They're not supposed to stop. When you are a small child, you have to remember also that anatomically, physiologically, we're all limbic system, meaning we're all emotional. Children are emotional. When they're looking at mommy and daddy through their eyes, everything, what's coming back and the data that's being received back into this little being is emotional data. It's not logic and reason. Oh, daddy's drunk again, that's why he's being mean. Or mommy's being passive aggressive again because her mother was mean to her. That's not what happens. When you're a little kid, everything is received and transmitted through the emotional field. And so when we have a feeling and we go to mommy or daddy with it, and it is ignored, or it is treated with indifference, or it is mocked, or you receive the message that we don't care. Shut the hell up. You're acting. Stop being a baby. There's this complete, there's a shutdown, and the feelings can't flow. And I think a lot of us suffer with heart palpitations because the energy gets, in my opinion, I used to feel things in my chest and my stomach for sure. And now I understand that the emotions that were supposed to come up never were allowed to come through my throat chakra because no one said, how do you feel? Yes, you matter. And so as a child, I was denied the throat chakra experience, meaning, I wasn't allowed to say, mommy, I'm scared, or mommy, I'm angry, or mommy, I'm depressed, or mommy, I'm confused. There was the energy never got that far. It was always stuck in my heart, and then I shunted it to your stomach. And I had gastrointestinal problems, and I had anxiety. And so I understand now that on a quantum level, you cannot separate the emotional field from the physical field. So our emotions, if they're not coming through our throat chakra, we're not able to speak our truth, and we're not able to see our truth with the third eye chakra, and we're not allowed to just let it go and become enlightened and figure out what our truth is supposed to be telling us. If we're denied that experience, this energy gets blocked in our chest, gets shunted back down into the chakra system, into the nervous system, and it's like locked energy, and it's sort of like pressure that's building up in a pressure cooker. Now that energy has to go somewhere. It doesn't just go nowhere. The energy is locked in our cells, and I think that's what anxiety is. This we can't relax, because this energy that from time we were little that was supposed to be allowed to come up and come up. The energy is what? Our emotions. We haven't been allowed to experience those emotions, so we're shunting it. And it's being experienced in the body because it has nowhere else to go but into our body cells. And so we have to also understand how the brain works. So if I feel anxiety, my body senses anxiety. Well, every nerve in my body is connected to my brain. And there is a default system in the brain, the pain versus pleasure default system. So if I experience pain in my body, the brain senses pain. What the brain wants to do then is to seek pleasure. And so I think that's why so many of us overeat. We get nervous and we eat because there is a soothing effect to, ice cream can soothe you. It's a comfort food. It's fatty. It's sugar. The receptors in the brain, start to wake up. Serotonin is released. And so there is a chemical boost. There is a chemical lift when you feel anxiety and you go eat food. Now the problem with that is that the brain can't rationalize its choices. The brain itself, the default settings are very instinctive and innate. It takes consciousness. It takes the prefrontal cortex where logic and reason resides. But we need to have neural pathways built. And we have to grow neural pathways to the prefrontal cortex in order for us to experience something like this. So it sounds like this. Let's say I'm coming through the codependent recovery journey, and God knows I had to go through this, and I come to a point in my life where I understand that I'm supposed to ask myself how I feel. Now, again, going to the title of this video, being abused by omission, the reason that's part of my recovery, and probably the very early stages of my recovery, is to learn how to process my feelings, is because I experienced abuse by omission. I was not taught that my feelings mattered, and so my life was a mess because I was seeking validation outside of myself. I was dating people who looked good on paper. I wasn't paying attention to how these people made me feel. And so my life's a mess. So now I get it. Boom, I'm codependent. I know why I am overly critical of my children. I know why I'm overly critical of myself. I know why I'm overly critical of my home, because I never feel like I'm enough. I do things because I want you to validate me. I don't get that validation, and now I'm pissed. I'm pissed. So after a certain amount of time, I'm tired. My eyes are externally focused. My heart's not in the right place. I'm irritable as a mom. My blood sugar's out of whack. I'm suffering from anxiety. The slightest piece of lint on the rug is going to turn me into a raging lunatic. And so now I realize I'm codependent. A lot of my anxiety comes from living a codependent life. I'm codependent because of my childhood. I was taught to be codependent. Pieces are starting to fall into place, which is what I do. I help people bring the pieces together and support them on their healing journey to abundance. And so it's a very topsy-turvy time for someone to say, oh my God, I'm codependent, and I'm a codependent mom, and I've made some mistakes, and yada, yada, yada. Okay, fine. So now you understand that your job is to learn how to feel your feelings. So let's say you realize you're going to leave a narcissistic relationship. You're going to leave a narcissistic spouse. You have to figure out how you feel about that decision. If you feel nervous, you say to yourself, wow, I feel nervous. I feel nervous. Wow, I feel nervous. You say it out loud over and over. I feel nervous. I feel nervous. You're trying to discharge the negative the negative charge to this I feel nervous and or I feel anxiety. Because what will happen is the brain has these ideas that anxiety is bad. So when you now remember, the brain is very simple. It wants to seek pleasure versus pain. So if you feel you're on this healing journey, I have to leave this relationship, it's not growing, he's bringing me down, he's confusing me, I don't trust him, he is talking in circles, we never get from point A to point B, I'm spiritually dying, blah, 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 I want to leave. Boom. Okay, you accept that reality. I want to leave. How do you feel about that reality? It makes me nervous. You have to work on discharging the negative charge to that reality, because if you don't, what will happen is the default setting of the brain will kick in. Oh, there's pain, danger, danger, danger. And the template that you've been running your life that has you afraid and walking in fear and then running from fear and going back into the comfort zone will prevent you from moving forward. So on the journey, what you want to do is accept how you feel about your decisions. It's going to be difficult for you because you've never, ever, ever learned how to accept how you feel. No one give a crap. Okay? So now it's your job to teach yourself these life skills. And I'm trying to help you because I want you to be happy as I am. Seriously. So you want to leave the narcissist. You're feeling nervous. I feel nervous. I feel nervous. I feel anxious. I feel anxious. Okay. Third step. What do I want to do about it? Now your third step must support the first step. So what am I going to do about how I feel? Well, I know that I'm never going to be happy in this relationship, and I know that ultimately I want to be happy. I know that ultimately I want to teach my children a new template. I want them to know what it looks like to be in a loving relationship with someone else. So I know that I have to get out of this relationship. So in spite of my fear, what I'm going to do is I am going to at least go talk to a divorce attorney just for today. Let me secretly go talk to a divorce attorney. Let me just get my ducks in a row and see how I feel about, divorcing him or her, and see how I feel about, undoing and detaching from this difficult relationship. I cannot stress enough the idea that you and I, and those of us who have come from dysfunctional homes, who are now adults, who find ourselves married once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, who married one narcissist and thought we figured it out and then married another one. You got to let that go. That was all part of the learning process. There's no shame involved. We, for the first part of our life, were literally in a dream state. We lived in a dream state. We were unaware. At this stage of our lives, however, we get to change everything. We get to throw away the old template, which I do healing meditations with my clients, and we kind of zone in on these old templates, and we crack them, and we start creating new ones. And you absolutely have the right and the ability, and everything that you need to do that is truly within you. I can't stress enough, however, that it's so important that yes, you absolutely understand what went wrong and how you were overtly abused. You can figure that out. But it's really difficult for those of us who are abused by omission, because that which we are missing is data. And so on this healing journey, you will discover that you don't know what normal is. You don't know what you should be looking for. You don't know how you should be approaching the dating scene. You don't know what you should tolerate and what you should not tolerate. You don't know. Well, I guess that's how all men are pigs. All men check out other women when they're out to dinner with their wives. No, dear one, that's not true. And you don't want that guy. I've had male clients tell me that I just thought that all women were insecure and all women, cried all the time and all women threw glasses against the wall, when they got their period. No, dear ones, that's not true. Not all women behave that way. That's unacceptable behavior. So now what's really, really beautiful is as you move forward, you learn to use your heart, which I call the North Star, as your guidance system. And so when you're around someone and you don't like what's being said, you can tune into that and just make an analysis and say, okay, put that in your notebook. Remember, when you're dating, when you're coming through the veil of consciousness and you start dating again, your agenda is to interview the person that shows up for that date. So often, what codependents do is this. They're sitting across from someone, they're going in their head, Oh my God, I hope he likes me. I hope he thinks I'm funny. Oh, I hope he thinks I'm pretty. I hope he calls me back. I wonder if he's going to call me back. Oh, I'll have a salad. I don't want him to think I'm a pig, or I won't order dessert because I don't want him to think that, in 10 years I'm going to be a fat cow. So I'm not going to order dessert, but that cherry pie really looks good. This is what codependents do when they're dating. And men do it too. It's not just women. So that's just not the way to go about it, dear ones. But if you lived your life wondering if you were enough for mom, that's your template. If you lived your life, wondering if you were enough for dad, then that's your template. So when you're with people, you're wondering, am I enough? Am I enough? How can I impress them? It's all about trying to get their validation. And that is truly what we need to break. We need to break those patterns and start tuning into self. But part of this journey, dear ones, is to understand that sometimes it becomes those of us who came from homes that look perfect, that where mommy wasn't drunk and mommy wasn't depressed and daddy wasn't philandering. Daddy was sitting at the damn kitchen table. He just wasn't talking to us. Or daddy was up in his office and he wasn't talking to us. He wasn't interested enough. He wasn't asking what was up with us. How was your day? What did you do after school? Tell me about your friend named Tom. Tell me about Susie. How do you feel about them? What kind of friendship do you have with them? Where do you go after school? What's your favorite food? How do you feel today? Do you like your teacher? What kind of tests do you have? When we don't have those experiences with our parents, we don't know that we're supposed to be in relationships with people who are curious about who the frick we are. How the hell are you supposed to feel connected to someone if they don't give a shit who you are? You can't. You can't. And how are you supposed to connect to someone if you're so preoccupied about what this banana thinks about you that you don't know how to show up and tell him who you are or tell her who you are? It's completely dysfunctional. And the problem is right under our noses. We're not telling the truth. We're not telling the truth. And so for today, being that you were attracted to this video, it's really important that you take these ideas with you on the road to recovery. You get a new iPhone, and most people read about the iPhone back and forth. They go on Google, they go on YouTube, and they learn all about this iPhone because they're interested in this iPhone. They want to get to know this iPhone. They want to know everything there is about this iPhone. So they can connect to their iPhone, and they can make the most out of this relationship that they have with their phone. And most people know their phones more than they know themselves, and more than they know their children, and more than they know their partners. It's crazy. I have a friend of mine who loves cars, and it's incredible how much he knows about cars, and he knows nothing about his wife. And vice versa. I have friends and people in my own family that know more about they know more about the guy at work than they do about what's going on with their kids. Have to bring it back into balance, people. Now, lots of us have trouble with our spouses because the maternal relationships were corrupt. And so today, dear ones, I want you to imagine a time in your life where you found something that really, really interested you, whether it was a book or whether it was an author or whether it was an activity, or a hobby. And think about how you got really, really involved with that. You want to know everything there was about this hobby. That's the type of passion you've got to bring to yourself. You want to know who you are. And that's the kind of passion you want to bring to a relationship. You want to know who this other person is. But here's the tricky part. You have to attract the same type of energy. You can't be very curious about someone and then just be curious about them and have that person just vomit all over you about who they are, and not have that person care about how you are. That's narcissism. So often we codependents show up for the other people. And then what happens is the other person isn't showing up for us. And because we don't have that experience of checking with self, we don't know that the other person is supposed to be checking in with us. And that is a symptom of being abused by omission, because no one checked in with us. And it is so innocuous, and it is so mundane. It is so everyday. Every day kids come home from school and no one's asking them how their day went. And if they do, it's like, how's your day? Sit down at the damn table and ask your kid how his day was. Look him in the eye and ask him, how was your day? Tell mommy how your day was. And if you have never done that before, start. Start connecting to your children. Connect to yourself. And, if you're in a relationship and it's salvageable, start connecting with your spouse. Look them in the eye and ask them, what happened with you today? What's going on? Don't just brush them off. That's just repeating what was done to you. Dear ones, I hope this has inspired you. I'm coming to Long Island, New York on November 14th, 2015, and I will be doing a live seminar. Only going to have a handful of people there. I think I have about 7 seats left. And you'll have breakfast with me, and we will get to know one another a little bit. Then I will give you a 2-hour workshop about codependency, and then we'll have a coffee break, and then it will be an hour of questions and answers. And so I will be sitting down at these tables with you, holding your hand if need be, and really opening up my heart and sharing love and light energy with you, and shining the type of love energy on you that you deserved as a child. And because the real goal is to be able to do that for you so that you can bring that love and energy into your homes and affect your children. And so that your children will be able to shine this love and light on their children. So it's really about bringing this whole love and light issue full circle, becoming a light body, handing that or sharing that love and light with someone else, so that with you, so that you can go home and share it with others. That's how we change the world, and that's how we anchor love and light energy onto this planet now and help new ones incarnate into this world completely light body activated. So exciting. These are my new bracelets. It's called It's Not You. Guess what? It's your programming. I'll be selling them on my website. And those of you who come to my workshop, of course, I will be giving them to you. And it's just it's a nice reminder that when you have a negative thought, I'll leave you with this. Whenever people ask me all the time, well, how do I know what's my programming and what's not my programming? Very simple. It's a litmus test. Any thought that you show that shows up in your mental field that is negative, that is critical, that is condescending of you or another human being, is your programming. It's not you. You are pure love and light energy, and that's the litmus test. It has been my honor to come into your hearts and your minds today. In love and light, dear ones, namaste. Bye.